presentation, we'll go through the steps to onboard new drivers on Geotab Drive. So in regards to our agenda here, we'll hopefully take about 35 minutes here to go completely through this training agenda, but we're going to start by taking a look at the Geotab Drive application from a driver perspective. We'll go through the operations of logging in, performing hours of service, managing exemptions, co-drivers, as well as logging out at the end of the day. And we'll also go through some workflows related to DVIR messaging. And then following that, we will have a driver test as well. So just going through this, to start, and you can certainly do this right now if you have your device with you, it's important to download the Geotab Drive app. Now this is the app that manages your compliance. It's found on the Play Store or App Store. You can simply search Geotab Drive. Just as another recommendation from a support point of view, TeamViewer Quick Support is another nice handy app which allows you to remotely view the screen of the driver if they're needing support. They can give their supervisor or support a number from the app to allow the support manager or someone to access their screen. And this comes in handy especially when you're training new drivers and there's questions. So again, you can download this by TeamViewer Quick Support. We're going to talk a little bit also about proper mounting. So we certainly want to make sure the device is mounted in such a way that it's not distracting to the driver. Of course, with the regulations and the way they are, driver distraction is becoming more and more critical to how we perform ELD. So mounting it, you can see in this image here, somewhere where it's not directly in the line of sight of the drivers is important. So there's a number of different mounts you can take a look at what's best for your vehicle type on RAM mounts, and there's links that you can use to access here, or you can look on Amazon for and look at the reviews. There's a number of different mounts and prices you can kind of review there. Also, another suggestion is to have a mobile device management application which locks down the device, prevents drivers from accessing apps like YouTube or other sorts of apps which might consume data and of course add cost. So it's just either have an MDM or ensure you can try to enforce some best practices and if you have company devices, right? Of course, if they're the driver's own devices, then it's not such a concern in terms of what other apps they're managing, as long as, of course, they're not accessing these apps while they're driving. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how this is all set up in regards to ELD. So just giving you kind of an understanding of how this ELD solution works. The driver logs and updates are actually all triggered and managed through the device. So the device which plugs into the diagnostic port of your vehicle also has its own cellular SIM card and GPS, accelerometer. And it also pulls data right from the vehicle computer. So when the vehicle moves, ignition on, moves beyond 5 miles per hour, it will actually drive the status update to drive on the driver's device. So it's actually all driven through this device here as completely, right? So what happens is when there's movement or when there's stop, the status updates go to the cloud, and the driver's mobile device syncs up against those status updates, right? Hopefully that's fairly clear. So that's kind of the overall sort of solution workflow, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail. Talking also a little bit about what you need to keep in the cabin as a part of the mandate. You need to print out the diagnostic events and malfunctions worksheet, the ELD manual, as well as the data transfer description, which gives a description of how to transfer logs from the app to the officer if you are pulled over. There's also the DVIR workflow as well, which you can keep in the cab, but these are any one of these documents you can click on to access a link to the actual manual if you need to print it out and keep in the cab. So just keep that in mind here. So going forward, we're going to go into the driver training video. And this is about an 11-minute video, and we recommend this video as an important first step in onboarding the drivers. There's also a quiz that we recommend taking after you've gone through this video, just to make sure you understand the points in the video and it's clear. And this is a good step to kind of also evaluate whether everyone is paying attention. So we'll go through this video now, and if there's questions, we can take them through the chat, but let's go through that now.
Geotab Drive is an app for hours of service, DVIR, messaging, and more. Each section of the app can be used individually, or all can be available for use. To start the Geotab app, simply tap the icon. Now enter your username and password. If you have any questions on this, please ask your manager. The app will now sync and pull the last 14 days of HOS logs, shipments, DVIRs, and trailer attachments onto the tablet or phone. You can now select your vehicle. The last vehicle you used is currently listed. You can either select this vehicle, or you can select another vehicle, or select from a list of nearby vehicles. Here, we will continue with the last used vehicle. If you have a trailer, you can either select the last used, if one is listed, or you can select attach another trailer and select the trailer from that list. Once a trailer is selected, tap the continue button. Displayed next is any unassigned logs, if there are any for your vehicle. Select the logs that belong to you, or select the All button and the Assign to Me button for all trips that are yours. The next display will be the DVIR inspection screen. Press the Inspect button to start a DVIR, or skip if a DVIR is not required. To complete a DVIR, start by inspecting the previous report for your vehicle and note any defects that were found and who the repair was made by. Scrolling down through the inspection, note any remarks if needed, and select Certify as Safe if the repair noted is complete, or choose Unsafe if you feel the vehicle is unsafe to operate. Next, do your walk around and note any parts of the vehicle that may need repair. If there is any part that needs attention, select that part and select the defect. If there are no defects, then simply touch the No Defects button. Then select Yes to certify the vehicle was inspected in compliance with regional and federal regulations. You can now repeat the DVIR report for a trailer. Select Inspect and review the previous DVIR for the trailer. Note that in this case there are no defects, so scroll to the bottom and certify that you have read the report. Now you can do your walk around of the trailer and note any parts on the trailer that may need repair, or select No Defects if there are no defects to report. Certify that you have inspected the trailer by selecting Yes. You are now on the main dashboard for Geotab Drive. All buttons available here are HOS, DVIR, Messages, Assets or Trucks and Trailers, and Settings. You also have an easy navigation menu in the top left corner which allows you to move between the options. And in the top right corner is your name or person icon. Pressing this allows you to log out or add a driver for team drivers or co-drivers. Up to 3 can be logged into the app. Beside your name is an envelope or notification icon, which displays any new messages or updates. To the right of your notifications is an information button, which shows you all of your connections. Your vehicle is connected, Geotab Drive is connected, GPS is connected, and the device has power. If any of these are not connected, they are displayed in red. Let's start with hours of service from your dashboard. You can see here that you are on duty, which is from your DVIR inspection you just completed. The app puts you on duty as soon as you start the DVIR. Select the HOS button to enter into your HOS screen. Hours of service is split up into 5 different tabs. In the Status tab display, you are shown the statuses in your rule set and the time available in each status. The top bar displays the maximum amount of time you have left to drive at this moment. The Graph tab is next. This displays your duty status logs, much like paper logs. On the right, you will see a total summary of how much time you have spent in each status for a 24-hour period. Scrolling down to the bottom displays the starting and ending odometer for all vehicles you have driven for the day. Scroll back up to access one of the 2 navigation arrows, allowing you to cycle through a full 7 or 8 days of logs, depending on your rule set. This shows the status graph of each day as you flip through. A red line appears if you have driven in violation. A yellow bar indicates any logs that have been changed or edited, and the green bars show the logs that have been verified or signed off on. The bar is gray if the log has not been verified. The next tab is Logs. This displays all the logs from the graph in a text format. The date, the time, the location, time spent in the status, and summary of the miles driven for the day is displayed. Scroll down to display all your logs and advisory messages noting any violation. Note, these displays are only for you. Any roadside inspection will not see these messages. The next tab is the Verify tab, which is where you sign off on the logs. To verify a log, simply select the log to verify or scroll down to the bottom and select All. Then select the Verify button. All logs have been signed off as you see here. Moving back to the Logs tab, you can now see there are check marks beside each log, noting they have been verified. If you forgot to log a status, simply press the Add Log button and select the status to change to Off, Sleeper Berth, On, or Drive. You can select the date as well as the time. For example, here we can change to yesterday at 5:15 and select the Add button. You need to type a reason for the added log and then choose Add. If you need to perform an edit, press the log to be changed and edit the status. For this example, we will be selecting Off and scrolling through to the end of the log in order to add any comments. And to remove a status log, simply press the Remove button. The last tab is the Options. Here you can apply any exemptions available to you. In adverse weather conditions, select Apply Today. If you have a yard move, press Start. Or if you have personal use available to you, press Start. Once you are done with the special exemptions, you need to press the Stop button to complete the yard move or personal use. Scroll through to the bottom and use the Generate button to create the compliance report to show to an officer for a roadside inspection. Scrolling down through the report displays the relevant information for the day, as well as the graph and the logs. Scrolling through the days by pressing the navigation arrow at the top of the report displays the last 7 or 8 days, depending on the rule set you use. Also note, there are no violations displayed in this report. This report displays all of the required information that is needed to show the DOT officer. So you only need to generate this report and display each day to the inspector. Return to the HOS display by using the menu button at the top left. There are two statuses that Geotab Drive automatically changes to. If the vehicle starts to moving, the status changes to drive. If the vehicle stops moving for 5 consecutive minutes, the status changes to on duty. All other statuses must be driver initiated. You need to press off duty if you are taking your 30-minute break. Move to on duty as you come back from the break, or choose sleeper berth if you are moving to the sleeper berth. These statuses must be chosen by you by pressing the button that applies. So please ensure you have the power cable connected at all times for the automatic status changes to work. Here is an example of a manual change from off duty to on duty. Then an automatic change as the vehicle moves, the status changes to drive. Here you can see the lock screen that appears when the vehicle is in motion. This displays the maximum amount of time left to drive. Once the vehicle stops for 5 minutes, the status changes automatically to on, and you have full access to the app. We are now going to log out of Geotab Drive. To do so, select your name at the top and select Log Out. It is recommended that you log out of Geotab Drive at the end of your shift. If you have any unverified logs, you will be prompted to sign off on those logs. Do this by pressing the All button and then Verify. The next prompt will be to update your status before logging out. Off duty is the default, as you should be going off duty at the end of your shift. If you need to go to another status, select one of the other two available and select Set New Status. Geotab is now syncing your logs and your logout is complete.
So now that we've completed that video, you can look at taking the driver test, and just there's links, hyperlinks in this presentation, so this is a good reference. If you need it for this presentation, you can click on here to access the quiz. Just note that there is the answer key on the last page. So if you're kind of printing this out for the drivers to take a test, you can just keep that part. So let's kind of keep going here. I'll let you take the test after we're done here. But just to recap some of the points, and I'll go through this quickly as it was primarily covered in the meeting here. So we're going to go talk about kind of the process in starting a day. So when you first download the app, install it, you will need to select your vehicle. However, next time you go to the app, it will display the last vehicle you selected. So if this is still the vehicle you're in, you can continue, or if you're going to another vehicle, click on select another vehicle, right? Just an important step, and always make sure you're logging in and selecting the vehicle you're supposed to be in, right? Of course, the next steps are about selecting your trailer and doing the DVIR on the vehicle as well as the trailer as part of your pre and post trip inspections, right? Now, if you have not verified your logs since the last time you logged out, you will be shown the logs that you'll need to verify as part of your compliance requirement. So you can verify all days or kind of skip that along. And here you will also see claim log. So if, for example, this vehicle was driven and there's no driver assigned to the vehicle, you'll see these unclaimed logs. Now, typically this happens when a vehicle is driven and nobody was logged in and associated themselves with the driver. So if that was you, you can assign these logs to yourself. Otherwise, you can skip if these logs do not belong to you, right? Otherwise, they'll remain unassigned, the logs, but they must get assigned as part of the ELD mandate. So that for the administrators, they need to look at unassigned logs and see if there's excessive unassigned logs. It means that somebody is potentially not logging in into the app. Just as a quick reference, this slide kind of highlights the key aspects of the home screen. So once you've passed the login process, you'll access the home screen, and there's a couple main components: the hours of service, which you can click to access the hours of service component. To do a new DVIR, you can click on DVIR. to see the messages, you can click on messages. Now you'll notice up here, if it's red, just note there is some communication, potentially some communication issues here. So you'll notice if it's red, if you click on it, there'll be one of these icons that could be red. You know, if it's not plugged in and charging, you know, want to make sure that's connected. And you can kind of read some of the other ones, but the vehicle needs to also be, the device needs to be plugged in on the vehicle, of course. So if there's a problem with the device, then this one will be red as well. And there's a troubleshooting guide here you can actually access. And like we said before, the TeamViewer app also allows you to kind of remotely access the screen. So let's talk a little bit about hours of service. Now we recap this, but you know, just talking a little bit more about this. This will be in red if we're in breaching violation. If the vehicle drives faster than 5 miles per hour, it will be put in drive as per the regulations. If vehicle is stopped, then it will be moved from drive to on duty, right? And that's after some time here as well. Now, when the vehicle is stopped and in rest mode, you'll see it showing you rest duration, right? But if you're driving, it'll tell you that you should go to rest within a certain period of time, right, as per the regulations. Kind of going forward here, the system will move the driver to on duty after 5 minutes if they've stopped, right? Let's go further here. Under the graph, you'll notice a couple different color codes just to kind of teach you about that. The green highlights verified logs, and the red line will indicate if there's any driving in violation. The striped lines will indicate any exemptions such as personal conveyance, and the gray indicates unverified logs. Yellow indicates edited logs, right? And you can see under which statuses each of these were applied. You can use the arrows to change date range. You can also add logs. The add logs, if you've missed a log in terms of applying, let's say, instead of off, it should be sleep or berth, you can add a log, and that will just start the time in between a specific point. So you can test that out there, the add log. To verify the day, you click on verify here. If you want to change a log, you simply have to change the selected log. And if you do change a login, you'll need to annotate the log. In terms of applying an exemption, you can see some of the definitions here and what these exemptions mean: yard move, personal conveyance, all right, and applying adverse conditions here. In terms of adding a co-driver, you'd click on this little icon here. You'll see your name, and you'll want to, if you want to add a co-driver, you click on this plus sign to add and log in the co-driver. If you want to change who's in the driver's seat, you click on driver's seat. And you'll notice that if you are the co-driver, you won't see the drive button, right? Just to keep that in mind. Logging out at the end of the day is obviously very important. If you don't log out, then the system will think you're on duty, or even worse, somebody else will start driving your vehicle and start applying logs against your vehicle if they haven't logged in, right? So just log out, right? Keep things secure, and when you log out, you will apply a final status at the end of the day, and you can put off duty here, right, from your previous status. So what do you do when you get pulled over? When you get pulled over, you'll want to generate the compliance report for the officer. So you click on here, generate the compliance report to the officer. Or you can also transfer logs directly to the officer simply by hitting transfer. You'd put in the email address, and that would directly transfer the logs to the officer. And you can put anyone's email address here as well. Just keep that in mind. Again, under HOS options, transfer or generate. Messaging and dispatching. So this is for the dispatchers as well as the drivers. So on the left side, you'll see from my Geotab, under activities, there'll be a messaging panel. And if you send a message to your driver, you can also specify a response. So you see under reply options, yes, no. And you'll see also how it's displayed for the driver when you send a message. You'll see here, yes, no. So just kind of giving you an idea, and you can see the message here and how it kind of is displayed on both sides. Going a little further here, you can also dispatch an address to the device. And if you dispatch an address, you'll see it comes up as a hyperlink on my Geotab, on the app itself for the driver. So the driver can simply has to click on the link here, and it'll open up the navigation app on their device, right? And just kind of giving you an idea of how this looks from the manager's end. You would simply go here as a manager to create a new message. You click on new message here, right? And you'd select the recipient, whoever that might be. You can select a vehicle, or you can select an actual driver name, right? Hello, Kevin. And you can see the reply options again, or you can even put your own responses. Kevin, when will you be back, right? So that's how you'd send a message. If you wish to dispatch a stop to a driver, you would simply find the address you wish to dispatch. So if I wanted to dispatch at this location, I could type in the name of the customer here. I would click here, and I would actually put dispatch vehicle here. Right? Really as simple as that, and that's how that gets to the dispatch side. So going forward here, you can also dispatch an entire route. Dispatching of a route involves you going to routes here, and you can add a new route and a number of stops to the route and actually go ahead and dispatch that, right? That's how you'd kind of go about doing that. And you'd save the route. Once you've saved it, you can then dispatch it. Just kind of a quick reference here. Driver vehicle inspection reporting. So we'll go through some best practices in regards to the DVIR. We'll play this and get a feel for proper best practices for performing your pre and post trip inspection.
As you approach the truck, make a general visual inspection of the truck face for any damage or missing components, visually checking both sides and the top for any obstructions which could cause damage on departure. Also check underneath the truck for any obstructions, damaged components, or any fluid leakage that would be a cause for concern. Some of the items that you will want to inspect will be the integrity of the frame and the exhaust system, looking for any loose clamps or holes that will cause leaks. Locate the tire chocks and lock one of the tires in place before physically touching anything on the truck. Now enter the tractor cab and ensure that both parking brakes are engaged, one for the tractor and one for the trailer if applicable. Now perform a visual sweep of the front end of the truck. Check the integrity of the mirrors, lights, the grille, bumper, license plate, etc. Unlatch both sides of the hood and open it up to expose the engine components. Now check all of the components under the hood. Look for excessive fluid leakage. Check fluid levels and check the integrity of all components under the hood. Check the wires and belts and look for any excessive wear, cracks, abrasions, or fraying, taking note of any issues that would be a cause for concern. Work your way from top down into the brake system of the first wheel, checking leaf springs, suspension, and other components. Starting from the inside of the first tire, check the back wall, the tread depth, and its integrity. Check the front wall, and check all the lug nuts and bolts, ensuring that all are fastened tightly. Check the driver's side windshield wiper to make sure it's secure, and inspect the windshield to make sure there are no cracks. Check the side view mirror, reflectors, door latch, side markers, steps, and gas tank cap, ensuring that all are fastened securely and without damage. Now access the battery compartment. Check for any excessive dirt buildup or corrosion, wire fraying, or loose connections. Check all the connections between the tractor and the trailer, making sure that everything is securely fastened. Check the integrity of all cables, glad hands, and step boards. And make sure there are no obstructions underneath on either side, so that nothing will become loose mid-trip. Inspect the dual tire configuration with a full tire inspection process and assure that there are no obstructions in between the tires. Ensure that the lug nuts are tightly fastened and that there are no leaks from the hub. Check the treads for any cracks or uneven wear. And finally, check the mud flaps to ensure they're securely fastened. Check the integrity of the trailer's landing gear, making sure that they are aligned properly and secure. Inspect the lines under the trailer, side markers and reflectors. Check the remainder of the tires, the lug nuts, the hubs, the mud flaps, and any remaining markers or reflectors. At the rear of the trailer, inspect the reflectors, markers, trailer lights, the doors, hinges, and latches. And lastly, check the protector bar. And check the trailer's axle assemblies. Once you have repeated the entire inspection process on the passenger side of the trailer and truck, replace the hood back to its original position and lock it securely into place. Now use Geotab Drive to record your observations and notes of your DVIR. Now enter the truck to begin your in-cab inspection. Once inside the cab, check all of the major components: your windshield wipers, turn signals, high beams and low beams. Check the windshield for any cracks or obstructions. Check the horn. Check the gauges to make sure they're working properly. And check all of the auxiliary settings and the switches, which could impact your vehicle performance. Once all of the interior cab components have been checked and verified in good working order, you can now begin a full air brake inspection. And after completing a full air brake inspection, buckle up your seatbelt securely, complete your DVIR on Geotab Drive, and start your engine.
So coming back to the app, in regards to the inspection, you can at any time go to DVIR and click on Inspect on the respective vehicle or trailer. And when you do your inspection, remember you will be put on duty. Now, if you are signing off on a previous inspection, if the vehicle had a defect, it'll show you the defect, and you will then just review and make sure if it has been dealt with, you will mark certify as safe. If this is still an issue, you'd mark as certify as unsafe. If there is no defect from the previous inspection, you can mark the previous inspection as certify the previous inspection, right? Pretty straightforward. When you are performing an inspection and you do If you've verified there's no issues, you can simply click no defect. Of course, if there is an issue, you would go through the process of selecting the defect and kind of working through that process. If there is a repair you would like to log, you can hit repair to log the repair on their respective device. Right? And repairs can only be logged by users with proper clearance. So going back under repaired, if you click on here repaired, you'll make an annotation about the repair remark, and repair was complete. Right? So here's the checklist kind of after we're done here. Now it's important for us to kind of use what we've learned. So for the managers to verify that drivers have been added, been given their login credentials, the Geotab Drive app has been downloaded on the devices. We'd recommend administrating the test, and you can click on this link to administrate the test. Make sure drivers are comfortable logging in, so I'd recommend kind of logging in and shadowing the drivers to make sure they can log in as well as log out of the Geotab Drive app. Drivers understand when to apply the HOS statuses, right, and the exemptions, right. Drivers can show the DOT compliance report and transfer logs so they understand and just walk through that process. Make sure everyone has the printed required documents, and you guys understand the messaging and dispatching components. So this is a checklist. Hope you enjoyed the training. Click here to kind of rate our training module. Again, if you have questions, here are some support resources. For the managers, to sign up to the manager training, there is the manager training sign up link, which you can sign up here. There is also the slide deck, which kind of goes through the complete management side of hours of service, which you can access here. But recommend signing up to the training and taking it from there. Just as a kind of other helpful links, signing up for additional training, videos, any guides for you guys. So again, just go through the checklist here, and hope you enjoyed today's training. Thank you.